thanks a lot for coming by. I am making a really great recipe tonight. We have some very dear friends, they're vegan, and they're coming over tonight, and I am making a chocolate cookie. It's really good, and it's vegan. Nothing in there is other than plant-based. Fairly straightforward cookie. It's a rolled cookie, and but the ingredients are simple and the instructions are simple. So I hope you like this recipe. And without further ado, let's get started. We're going to start with the dry ingredients, as dry and wet as most cookies are. I have some unbleached flour in here, unbleached white flour. And of course, I'll give you all the instructions and the ingredients in the description box. I have some salt and some baking powder that's going to go in. And we are going to give this a good mix to make sure everything is well combined, just like we do with most cookie doughs. All right, now let's get started on the wet ingredients. That's how quick the dry ingredients were. All right, into my mixing bowl. If this is going to go on my mixer, you could do this by hand, not a problem. This is, I'll show you the label so you know what I'm getting there. This is the Hershey's Cocoa, and this is the 100% cocoa, and I think this is like their darkest. Oh no, I don't think it is the darkest. I think they have one that actually says dark chocolate on it. Okay, so this has kind of got a life of its own. It's a little fluffy, a little more so than flour. So I suggest you get it into your measuring cup with a spoon, because if you don't and you just try to pour it in there, you're going to have a real mess on your hands. And as you can see, I've got a white shirt on, but I've got my apron on. So I'm just going to give it a little scoop there, and I'm going to put it into my pan, my bowl I should say. Let me get that closed up, and there's so little here, I'm going to add that to my bowl as well. So here comes my bowl. This is my mixing bowl. And then goes that. And, whew, see what I mean? It kind of fluffs up. And now I'm going to put in here 1 3/4 cup sugar. As I said, I will have all the ingredient measurements for you. This is a 1/2 cup measure. So I've got half, 1, and that's 2/4 and 3/4. To that now, I'm going to add some straight applesauce, not sweetened, but just straight applesauce. And you know, as I've said before, I buy now the applesauce in the little containers. It's just him and I. If I open a jar of mayonnaise, listen to me, if I open a jar of applesauce, it won't make it. We don't eat it fast enough. This is some avocado oil going in, and some vanilla. And you know me, I always splurge on that vanilla. Whatever the recipe calls for, I usually cheat, put more in there. All right, let's put this on the mixer. I'm gonna make sure I have everything in there. I've got my oil, my cocoa, my vanilla, my applesauce, and my sugar. I'm going to get this started, and I'm going to blend it till it's really well combined. All right, you can see how chocolatey this is. I'm going to get my beater cleaned off. And I will do a little bit more of that before I go on to my next step. Just take a look at how chocolatey that is. That is some dense, beautiful chocolate. And this is going to make a wicked, wicked cookie. This is going to get covered with saran wrap, plastic wrap, go into the refrigerator and chill for at least an hour. We want it to really firm up. And then once that is done, I will bring you back and we will go through the rolling process into little balls. And it's going to go into the oven and it's going to be so good. So stick with us. Okay, here's my dough. It's nice and chilled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my little scoops. I'm going to bring you in a little tighter, I think, so you can see a little closer. That's better. And I will move this over. So I'm going to make some scoops of dough. There goes my remote here. Okay. So I'm just going to take some of this dough and I'm going to roll it into a ball. And I'm going to kind of do this on a, on a assembly line style. So I'm going to take another scoop and I'm going to roll it. Now I'm going to do all of these the same. I'm going to just roll out a dozen of these scoops. And then the first thing I do is I'm going to roll it in the granulated sugar. And that sort of helps coat that so the powdered sugar will stay on top. And I kind of tap that off. And I put it on my cookie sheet. I go to the next one. And I just do the same thing for these dozen cookies until they are all done. And I do like 3 or 4 of them at a time. So it's a little quicker that way. As soon as I'm done with this dozen, I'm going to put them in the oven, 350 degree for about 12 minutes. They want to be just undercooked, like a brownie. So you can know how a brownie usually gets cooked, you kind of just, and I'll bring them out and they're going to cool for about 3 minutes on the rack. Then I'll put, or on the cookie sheet, excuse me, on the cookie sheet, then I'll be transferring them to my cooling rack. So when I get to that stage, I'll bring you back to show you what the cookies look like. And then there's a cookie monster who lives in this house. You know he lives here, and he's going to want to try one of these cookies. So we'll be back. They're on the cooling rack. They smell amazing. Amazing. Don't they look pretty? Don't they look pretty? Okay, we're going to be back when they're ready to take a sample. I told him there was a cookie monster living in this house.
Me like cookies.
And I'm going to let you. Here, I'm going to bring these up. I took a picture of them and showed them right before we turned this on. So you go ahead and pick like the biggest one you want. That is the biggest one. Okay, let me know.
They smell like brownies.
They do smell like brownies. Do you remember? Do you remember I made these before? Oh no, your first bite. You remembered I made these before? They are just like brownies.
Oh, they're terrible. You can't serve those to our guests. You have to keep them all for me.
Bite. They're chewy. I haven't tried one yet. Yeah.
Wow.
Ma'am.
It's like eating a brownie cookie.
It really is.
And when you first bite into it, you don't fully get that chocolate brownie thing. But then it starts to come on, and wow.
They are delicious. And every time I've made them, they've been spot on. Each time. No, thanks, honey. No, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
And we've done these at the holidays, and they make wonderful cookies for your little goodie thing, That's what we do. Anyway, I love this
Or
recipe.
for your own personal cookie monster.
For your own personal cookie monster. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. Give it a try. It's as you said, the only thing that's really the work is rolling the balls and stick them in the oven.
It's got the Cookie Monster seal of approval.
All right, very good. Well, that's it, I guess. Anything else?
Well, it looks like I have my work cut out for me. There's a lot of cookies.
Thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. Tell your friends, subscribe, and like I always say, if you have friends that are out there in YouTube land, tell them there's a couple of crazy old people here that you might want to see. Take care, everybody.
And eat cookies.
Eat cookies. Bye-bye.